Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're talking about what if Belle was from Terraria. So, in the last video we talked about how, after, arriving at their, at their little mission, was specifically the one about, going through the dungeon and going to the specific village to basically bring out some cargo. And also helping them, with their whole monster problem. So, after arriving there, they're basically having a bit of banter, but Bet is obviously being an asshole and tries to fight Belle and saying that he's basically better than him. Obviously, Bet is not. So, after a while basically walking through the dungeon, they would basically stop to rest as Belle would make, a literal house. So, after a while of basically eating, they would basically go to sleep and would basically leave that area. As after a while basically walking, and also traveling around, the dungeon, they would arrive at a brand new area, which they never seen before. I mean, they never seen anything like this before, ever. Some of them are pretty much familiar with the route between, that village and, Arario, but they never seen this area before. But when Belle saw it, well, it was hell. Literally, it's hell, aka, the underworld, which Belle knows pretty well established. Seriously, he already knows about it several times. Especially back when he was still, a streamer. So, after arriving at the, at that place, he would basically decide to, go to a little area with, with Lily, and so would get, some obsidian, platforms. After bringing out the platforms and basically, bringing them across, the lava lake, they would arrive at an abandoned structure, and they would get attacked by a simple, annoying piece of shit, imp. Yeah, I don't really like imps. So, after, defeating the imps, Belle would also explain to Lily, obviously, because Belle doesn't want everybody to know about this. Well, apparently, the underworld has these weird demons that have dolls, and if those, certain dolls to, basically fall in lava, let's just say a bad thing will happen, aka the wall of flesh, and let's just say Lily was horrified knowing this. So, after a while, basically going around, the area, they would basically get attacked by a few, regular demons, including a voodoo demon, which thankfully, Belle, got the voodoo doll, but not before getting bumped into, a random familiar member, causing the doll to fall into the lava and summoning the wall of flesh. Oh boy. So, because of this, she, or in this case, Belle, let's just say he was not really happy. Especially with the whole, literally, gigantic-ass monster that literally stretches towards the, all the way from, from the left to the right, and literally is charging towards everybody. So, as Belle is basically, making a large platform made out of, obsidian, platforms for, Lily would basically start, to fight, the, wall of flesh, taking it down and defeating it. After that, Belle would basically, tell her that it's her reward, and so would go into the box and grab a war emblem, which allows her to basically increase her, melee attacks and gets a bone hammer. Pone hammer. So, after a while, basically, arguing from the other adventurers, saying that they should get the deal, even though Belle basically tells them that, Lily literally gets the items because she was the one that actually defeat the thing, and so all of them would basically, agree, and so would basically start to leave. After arriving back at, I guess you could say the area, not really area, I meant, the large-ass, normal-ass dungeon, unlike, the hellish dungeon over there, they would finally arrive at the village, and that is where we basically ended off the episode. And so, this is going to be the explanation about, about what happened last episode, and so, let's talk about what happens next. So, as they arrived at the, small town, not really small, but you basically get it, as everybody is basically arriving at the town, they would basically be greeted with the mayor, as you would basically be given a little area so they can set up camp. As everybody is basically setting up camp, as Belle is basically going to a big plot of land, which Belle would basically think that it's actually pretty good there. So he would basically start building and make a little cabin for himself and Lily. So after making the camp and also setting up a fence, which makes it pretty obvious that it's being occupied, as Belle would basically set up his little area, and so would basically get ready to make lunch. So as Belle would make lunch, Belle would decide to make a simple sandwich made out of some ingredients. After making the sandwich and also getting some fries, which he got from the dungeon for some odd reason. I mean, in the game it doesn't make sense as well. I mean, last time when I played the game, I literally gotten a Sunday in the dungeon. Like, how does that work? I don't even know, but just imagine it just like that. So, as Belle and Lily are basically enjoying their lunch, they would basically be alerted by some of the members saying, "Hey, Belle, how did you make this?" As Belle would basically look over and basically opens the gate and see a few adventurers, as Belle would say this. "Oh, I rent it." As Luna would say, how did you rent it? And by the way, who the hell, gave you the permission to basically, not tell us to do this? Like, not tell us, that you literally had a home here. As Belle would say this. "Oh, the reason why is because I thought you're, enjoying yourselves," as one of them would say this. "I guess you're right, but still, I mean, you should have told us at least," as Belle would say this. "Anyway, I'm just gonna be getting some sleep with Lily, okay?" As, they would say, "Sure, why not?" So, as all of them would basically, leave, Belle and Lily would basically fall asleep, in the evening. When it was finally nighttime, they would basically start getting ready for their, their brand new routine. Specifically, taking care of the village at night. While they're basically, going there to the village, they would arrive and see a few other adventurers that they never seen before. Apparently, they were adventurers of this specific village, as some of them are basically looking down on them because they never known them before. But some of the, adventurers that basically came with them would basically say, "Please do not fight with them." As the big guy with the bald head would say, "Heh, really? You really think that these weaklings over there are actually powerful enough to beat me? The name's Eric. Eric the Strong Axe." After saying this, he would basically wield up his golden axe, as Belle would say. "A bit arrogant," he would basically say, as he would say, "Don't you dare underestimate me just because I'm a part of this village. I'm stronger than any of you losers." As after saying this, Belle would basically, say, "What the hell did you say?" As you'd say, "That's right, I'm stronger than all of you. Even though we don't really have a familiar here, I'm considered as the strongest out of all of you." As you would basically say, "I'm in fact stronger than, that little princess of yours or whatever." After saying this, everybody would basically start to, wait for a second. Everybody would start to fume a little bit because of his words. As Belle would also feel a little bit angry. As you would say, "Heh, I heard that you're the strongest. And I just thought, that all of you are weak just because of your leader. He looks like he's a weakling," he would basically say, pointing at, Belle, as everybody would just feel, that he's definitely gonna get it. So, after Belle hears this, he would say, "So, you think that I'm weak just because I'm short and look skinny, right?" As you'd say, "Yeah, obviously." As Belle would say this, "Fine. How about a one-on-one match? No cheating. And if I dare see you cheat, I'll just have to make you pay," he would basically say with a, sweet tone that literally speaks of death, as he would start, releasing a bit of bloodlust. As some of the adventurers behind him, specifically the ones that basically, came with them, and some of them are basically like party members of him, start to fall like flies, including him. He would basically faint in the sight of the bloodlust, including some of the other, adventurers there, mostly the ones that are from, from Marario. Except for the higher level ones, like for example, Finn, Bet, and basically others of that sort. You would start feeling the bloodlust, as Belle would say this. Weak. He would basically say, as Belle would say this. Lily, are you okay? As Lily would say, yeah, I'm pretty much fine. As Belle would say this. Good. We should probably go into our patrol now. So, after doing that, they would basically start to leave to go to their, specific patrol. So, all of them would basically start to leave as Belle would basically, go around, I guess you could say the outside of the city and would basically start looking around, checking if there's any, disturbances or any attacks soon. So, as Belle is basically, finishing up his, his shift, Belle would basically tell Lily that, it's time for them to basically leave because it's time for the other guys to basically, do it now. So, as Belle is basically leaving, Belle would meet up with the, the adventurers, or at least the guys that are going to be acting as guards this time, specifically Tione and Tiona, as Tione would say this. Oh, hello, Belle, as Belle would say this. So, you must be one of the, members of the Loki family, alright? As she would say, yep, and my name is Tione, and this is my sister Tiona. As Belle would say, nice to meet you then. Anyway, I'm just gonna be getting some sleep, okay? As she would say, yeah, just have a good night, okay? She would basically say with a happy tone, as Belle would basically nod his head. And so both Lily and Belle would basically arrive at their makeshift cabin, and so both of them would fall asleep. When they woke up, they would basically start leaving to go and eat, I guess you can say brunch. Because it's not really, in the midday or in the mid-noon, so I guess you'd say it's brunch. So, as they're basically eating brunch, which was mostly made of eggs and also, a turducken, which I think it was also in the game. If I'm wrong, then, just tell me in the comments. So, as they're basically eating the turducken, which, by the way, Lily was basically eating it like a king at this point. She would say, actually, I'm not really surprised that you actually have some good food here. As both say this. Well, I mean, makes sense. As both of them would basically reach towards the sundae and so would, decide to eat it, together. After eating it, they would basically start to leave, as when they're about to leave their cabin, they would see a girl. In this case, oh god, wait for a second, what's her name? Rivia, as Rivia would say this. So, Belle Cornell, as, Belle would say this. What is it? As she would say, it seems that someone wants to talk to you. You know that man from yesterday? The one with the arrogant tone. As Belle would say this. Oh yeah, our fight. As she would say, she would say, yes, it seems so. And by the way, try to be easier on him, okay? As Belle would say this. Why not show him a little bit more, disrespect? And show him why he should not try and mess with me, he would basically say, sounding a bit like Gilgamesh from, from a certain, Fake Grand Order game. Anyway, so, as he would arrive at, the meeting place, which was a large area in, in the, I guess you could say, village, as he would say this. So you finally showed up. As Belle would say this. Yeah. So, are you ready to lose? He would basically say, as you say, I'm not gonna lose. Unlike you, I'm stronger, and I'm not a short little bastard like you. As Belle would say this. Yeesh. And by the way, is that axe, compensating for something? As he would basically start to become angered, that he would say, why you? As he would basically start to turn invisible. As Belle would say this. How ignorant. He would basically say, as he would start activating one of his, abilities, which basically allows him, I can't remember the actual name of that specific item or equipable item, but it's basically an item that basically acts as like, a radar to basically check if there's hostile creatures or any rare creatures, basically something of that sort. So, as Belle is basically sensing him thanks to that, specific ability, Belle would basically move to the side, seeing that, a crater would basically appear out of nowhere, as the guy would seem surprised. As Belle would say this. Pathetic. As Belle would basically grab a SDMG, as he would start firing at the area, causing, blood to basically appear out of nowhere, causing all of his allies to basically see this. As you'd say, shit! What the hell are those? As Bell would say this. Well, this is my SDMG. And by the way, it's a weapon that only I possess. And nobody is allowed to touch it. As you would start firing it once again, as Bell would basically grab, his, Terra Prisma, as he would start summoning several swords, as these several swords would basically sense, the bastard. As he would basically start getting sliced apart. Not too much to the point that he literally dies, but more or less, getting a lot of scars. So, after a while basically getting beaten to the ground, Bell would decide to just, play with him a little bit more. As Bell would basically start, summoning several, shark nails, thanks to, to his Tempest Staff, as he would summon, several more swords, as these swords and, little, sharknadoes would basically aim their, projectiles, or at least, the Terra Prisma is a projectile, but either way, they would basically start pointing at, the Bastage. As Eric would see these several swords and sharknadoes pointing their attacks towards him. As Bob would say this. Fire. As the sharknadoes would shoot out several sharks, as they would basically start slamming into the guy, getting several bite marks, and as for the, Terra Prisma swords, let's just say he literally has a ton of scars at this point. All of his allies and some of the, villagers nearby, which saw the battle, would just be awestruck. This guy, even the, their strongest, adventurer is being beaten by him, including the mayor is basically, cheering the guy on, as some of the villagers would also join in, saying, beat down the bastard, because, let's just say this guy, was a bit of a bastard and a bit arrogant. And the reason why is because ever since he garnered his powers, or at least his skills, he sort of became a bit of a bastard, and basically started sleeping with any woman that he sees, including the wives of other, I guess you could say members of the village, and many of their, daughters are basically now violated because of him. And seeing him being, beaten to a bloody pulp by this guy is basically refreshing to them. Some of his friends are basically, kind of afraid of him, aka Bell, as Bell would basically come up to him, as he would basically grab him by the neck with his kaleidoscope. As he would basically start beating him down like Aizawa with, I think it was twice, I can't remember, but I think it was that, Aizawa basically, beating on twice in My Hero Academia. So, after a while, basically beating him, basically, putting his leg into his face, and then his manhood, which, let's just say, no more babies, as all of the guys there were just, clenching their, hands at this point, including Ben saying, did he really have to do that? As Bell would basically start beating on him, as his face is no longer recognizable, as almost all of his teeth are gone, his face is basically, blistered and bruised, as Bell would say this, I think that's enough. As Bell would basically, use his kaleidoscope to basically, twirl him around, as he would basically throw him off the ring. And let's just say he's basically blasting off again. Like Team Rocket. So, after doing this, Bell would basically retract his, kaleidoscope, as he would say, I guess I won, he would basically say nonchalantly, as he would basically start to leave. Everybody was just awestruck, seeing Bell actually beam the guy, as all of the villagers would basically start to cheer him on, as all of his friends are basically, just like, he actually did it. So, as Bell is basically leaving, Lily would basically come up to him, as she would say, you gotten that bastard pretty well, eh, Bell? As Bell would say this. Yeah, it seems so. As after seeing this, all of the adventurers there would say, do you really have to do that? As Bell would say this. What? He really needs to learn how, try not to disrespect a person just because of his looks. He would basically say, as all of them were just shaking their head a little bit, thinking, yeah, this guy's a complete psychopath. So, As everybody's basically leaving, they would basically, go home, basically going back, to their separate places. So, after a while, Bell is basically in his, a little, makeshift cabin with, Lily. As Lily is basically trying out her, new hammer, and thanks to, the Avenger, not Avenger, I meant, the warrior emblem, she's been, how do I say this? Basically, just imagine, Madara's meteors. That's how much she's able to do. Yeah. Oh boy. So, she's able now to basically cause meteor-like strikes similar to Madara's meteors, as she's been working a lot lately, and she now looks like a short stack, but with muscles. Yeah, that seems terrifying. So, after a while of basically doing that, they would basically be alerted by a noise, specifically from one of the adventurers. One of them would basically start knocking on the gate of, Bell's little home, as he would say, "Bell! Bell!" As Bell would basically open the gate, as he would say, "What is it?" As Bell would say this. Not Bell, I meant, the random familiar member. He would say, "We're being attacked by several monsters, and they're not really normal. They seem to be turning into something. I don't know what, but they're weird. They have several mechanical parts, and they seem to be made of metal, and one of them looks like a skeleton, and..." As Bell would say this, hold up. You didn't say one of them was a skeleton and seemed to be made of metal? As he would basically nod his head. As Bell would say this. Well, it seems that they finally awakened. So, as Bell would basically, was going towards, the village, Bell would see a message saying, the destroyer has been awoken. Next was, the twins have been awoken. And finally, the Skeletron 9000, let me just check the actual name. I meant Skeletron Prime has arrived. So, as Bell would basically look at the destruction that, all of them are basically, emitting, Bell would say, "Hey, Lily." As Lily would say this, "Yes, Bell?" As Bell would say this, "Try to help me out." As Bell would basically summon, the pirate ship, as both of them would basically get on, as they would basically, go towards, one of the bosses, specifically, Skeletron Prime, as they would basically fire off their, specific attacks. For Lily, she starts using her, Pwn Hammer to basically beat down on one of the, the vice, and also, using her, Thorn Chakram to basically throw it at, what is that called, the, I think it was the grenade launcher, or was it the las gun? I think it was the, I think there was a rocket launcher, so, yeah, she would basically start, slicing at, the rocket launcher. Sorry about that. As for Bell, Bell would basically go for the chainsaw, or at least the chainsaw-like weapon, and, the, laser cannon, which Bell was basically targeted with his, with both, his, SDMG and also his vampire knives. As for the Destroyer was basically terrorizing the town with several attacks from its little, drone minions, and, the, large ass, I guess you could say, wait for a second, literal size of its body. And as for the twins, one of them specifically, I think it was called, the one that's called Spasmatism, I can't remember which one was Spasmatism, but I think it was the, green one with the, greenish flames, would start burning the entire town with its green flames. And as for, what is that? Retinator would start shooting out blasts of, red energy, resembling a beam of, a laser beam. As some of the adventurers would try and help out, Bell and their fight with the, weird-looking monsters. Some of the adventurers would try to, destroy, Spasmatron and also, I think it was called Spasmatism and, Retinator, but their attacks are basically useless, doing, 1 damage per hit, which Bell would start to laugh a little bit, giggle, as, they would basically defeat, the arms of, Skeletron Prime, as Skeletron Prime would start growing, spikes on top of its head, as it would charge forward towards Bell and also their Belle and also, Lily's pirate ship. Belle would basically turn away as Belle would basically, charging towards, Skeletron as Belle would basically, at the nick of time, would grab, the Zenith and slice Skeletron in half, causing it to basically burst into a puff of smoke as Belle would basically grab the treasure bag. As Belle would basically look over and see, the Destroyer. The Destroyer is currently, causing a bit of mischief by basically, summoning in several of his, I guess you could say, like, little robot helpers. As Belle would basically jump towards it, as Belle would basically slash at a few, robots. As Belle would basically tell Lily to, and I quote, destroy the fucker. So, as, Lily is basically using using her Thorn Chakram to basically slice through the thing. Using her, Thorn Chakram to basically, basically, like, throw it, and will basically, bring it back, almost like, a boomerang. And she would basically start using her Pwn Hammer in conjunction with that by, jumping around and basically slamming at, some parts of, the Destroyer. After a while, they would basically defeat the Destroyer and grabbing its treasure bag. And finally, it's time. As, Spasmatism and also, Retinazer would basically look towards Belle and Lily, as both of them would basically shriek, as they would basically charge towards Belle and Lily, as after a while of fighting, Belle would say, Lily, now! As Lily would basically charge over, as she would basically use her, I guess you could say, like, Wern Scarf to basically jump over to them. Almost similar to, Dr. Octopus with his claws. As she would basically charge towards it, as she would basically, use her, Pwn Hammer, and would basically slam the Pwn Hammer onto the face of the robot. Or at least, the robot-like monster. As you would basically, she would basically, smash it onto Spasmatism's face, or eye. As after doing that, it would basically change into a large mouth with several rows of teeth. As it would basically start burning out, shooting out more green flames. As Belle would basically start shooting at, thanks to the help of his, SDMG, he would basically start shooting at, at Retinazer. As Retinazer would basically transform into a more mechanical eye. As Belle and Lily would basically fight it once again. After a while basically fighting it, they would actually defeat it, getting the last treasure bag. After doing this, Belle would basically get the achievement, what's that called? Bucket of Bolts. After, getting this achievement, you would basically look towards Lily, as Belle would basically look towards, the treasure bags. After, grabbing the treasure bags and basically opening it, you would get a few souls of, a few souls of fright, a few souls of light, and a few souls of, I think, night. I can't remember all that much, but Belle would also get a few. He would get some hollow bars, which he would basically think it's probably a pretty good item for him to sell. So, after getting all of those items, Belle would basically say, are you, like all of you guys okay? Belle would basically look towards, some of the familiar members, or at least the random ones. As all of them would say they're fine, but some of them were pretty much injured. As Belle would basically grab, his little bag, which he gotten, and would basically give all of the, healing potions that he gotten. Or at least gotten from his Gate of Babylon style portal. So, after doing this, everybody would basically thank, Belle, as all of them would basically start getting healed up. After that, all of them would basically start to leave, knowing that they basically, protected the city from that large danger. And so, after leaving, they would basically say goodbye to, everybody in the village. The guy that, Belle, beaten to a belay pulp is currently still in the hospital, and in fact, completely, decided to stop being an adventurer because of that little fight of his with him. Yeah, probably scarred him. So, after leaving, Belle was about, arrive back home. But when he arrived back home, at, his little, area there, or, I guess you say, church, with, Lily, Belle would see a unfamiliar girl, with greenish hair and violet eyes, or pinkish eyes, or whatever, I can't remember, as she would say, "Oh, you must be Belle Cornell, right?" As Belle would say this, "Yeah, and what are you?" Belle would basically say, as he would somewhat recognize her as the Dryad, as she would say, "Oh, just call me Vita, Vita the Dryad. And might I ask, are you the one that was chosen to be an adventurer, right?" As Belle would say this, I guess you can say that, but it's more of a, obligation. After all, I do mean to pay." As she would say, "I guess so. But may I ask, I want you to let me join your familia, with Miss Hestia's permission at least." As Belle would say this, "Sure, why not? But by the way, what are your skills exactly?" As she would say, "Well, I will tell you in the morning, so prepare to get some sleep now, Mr. Belle Cornell." And so, after hearing this, Belle would also agree, knowing that he's quite a bit tired. So, after basically making dinner for everybody, including, the Dryad, which she was pretty happy eating, and so all of them would fall to sleep in their separate rooms. Like, for example, Lily in her brand new room, which she was pretty comfortable with, and for, Vita would fall asleep in the guest bedroom. So, this is going to be the end of this episode. And so, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!